you doing, YouTube? Matt with Massive Beer Reviews back with not another review. Gonna be doing another recap this week. I know I just threw up a video a couple days ago going over a bottle share that we had, and it's the new year, so I have to do the prerequisite best beers thing. I know I don't have to, but I want to, so there you go. And you're like, why is he off camera? Because there's gonna be a bunch of fancy shit going on over here, so calm down. Anyway, gonna be doing a little recap stuff, going over the best beers I've reviewed this year. I shouldn't say best beers, my favorite beers I reviewed this year. There's a little bit of a difference. I'm not gonna do the best beers I've had this year, because I had a ton of beers. Some I didn't review, some that are going to be reviewed, yada yada yada. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a recap of the beers I enjoyed the most this year. Now you would be like, well, there's a direct correlation between rankings and enjoyment. I guess so, but in my eyes, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you all the beers that really kind of struck me in a really nice way. Some might be, like for example, there might be a beer that I ranked at like a 90 that there was 30 more beers above that, but it made this list. Well, I enjoyed it that much this year, and it kind of caught me off guard, or whatever, and that's what I'm going to be reviewing, okay? So, anyway, if anybody actually watches this stuff, that's what I'm doing. If not, suck it, because it's my show, and I can do whatever the hell I want. Anyway, so yeah, best beers I reviewed 2014. I'm gonna do it like a top 10 list from 10 to 0, but before that I'm gonna be doing an honorable mention list because there was way more than 10 that I wanted to talk about. And the honorable mentions, you just see a bunch of them over here somewhere, and they'll be in kind of in order, but not really. Anyway, first off, honorable mention: Saucony Creek's Maple Mistress. This year's 2014, loved it. Out of left field, Saucony Creek just kind of blew me away with this one. And again, I'm not sure what I rated it. I'm not going to say that again throughout this review because I'm not going to go back and check every rating that I gave on it. But it just kind of just did it for me beer-wise. Loved it. Loved everything about it. Its uniqueness. So it had to make this list. Similar to that is Tommyknockers Legend. There's an old oak nut brown ale. I never had anything big or bold or awesome from Tommyknocker. Ended up picking this up on a whim. Blew me away. It's one of my earliest reviews if you want to check it out. It's way towards the beginning. Super fantastic beer. I have a couple 4-packs sitting around. I'm hoping it's going to age well. We'll see what happens with that. The Chris Banker Stone Chocoveza Milk Stout. Just really enjoyed it. Not a huge Stone fan, as I've talked about before. But not for some reason, this beer kind of did it for me. For the reasons why I liked it. It was a milk stout. Tastes exactly like a milk stout. And it had this kind of chilly heat that kind of just built and then died perfectly at the point before it got uncomfortable. Absolutely fantastic beer. Loved it. The Struise to Jesus Reserva. It's a bourbon barrel-aged strong ale. Never heard of it before this year. I've had a couple of Struise beers, but never had that one. Then my buddy brought one up for me, the regular version, and he brought me the barrel-aged version. Absolutely fantastic beer. If you're into Belgian style beers with a little bit of aging on it, oak aging on it, which you don't see a ton of Belgian people do, or Belgian breweries do, definitely give it a whirl. La Cumbre's La Negra Oak Aged Russian Imperial Stout. This is a joint review between me and my buddy Ryan, brewphoto.com. He takes awesome pictures of beer and stuff, so checking him out. Yeah, he brought it here. It was a 2012 version of that beer, and he said it wasn't too stellar when he first got it because he got 2 of them, and he brought one over to review, and that extra couple years probably did it for it. Well, definitely did it for us because it was way better than that iteration. So you southwestern people down in New Mexico, I think La Cumbre's from, but close there, if not close to the southwest there, definitely give it a whirl. North Coast Old Stock 2014. You watch any of my reviews, probably I've mentioned North Coast Old Stock more than any other beer. Maybe besides Thomas Hardy. I don't know. Only because it's the closest iteration to an aged Thomas Hardy I know of. North Coast Old Stock is one of my favorite beers, but this year's version was head and shoulders above past several years. One of my favorite versions of that beer, fresh. And it's just going to get better with time, so if you like aged beer, if you like old ale, stuff like that, definitely pick it up. Castle Donker Me and my buddy Wade, Dr. Octave 1 on YouTube, he does analog modular synth stuff. Check him out. We did a review of a Castle Donker, which we're huge fans of, but this was a 2007 version, and it was off the hook. Might sound a little disgusting, but it was creamy, buttery, delicious Belgian dark goodness. Absolutely fantastic. If you're into Belgian darks, quad, stuff like that, and you're into old beers, it's worth it for you to try to seek one out that's a little bit older, or grab some now and let it sit. Smutty Nose's really old brown dog ale. Knocked me off my feet. Love that beer. Absolutely loved it. It was a hop forward English style old ale, but this was a 2011 version. I reviewed it this past year, which is 2014. So it was that age just did it wonders. Absolutely fantastic beer. If you're into old ales and you can get an older version, or if you can get a newer version, let it sit again. Definitely worth your time. Avery Sam Ale Oak Aged Barleywine. Avery's barrel aging program's off the hook. Ridiculously good. So, if you're going to do anything, if you're going to get anything, sorry, Mika's barking. If you're going to get anything from Avery, then especially their age stuff, their barrel age stuff, it's absolutely worth it to give it a whirl. Absolutely fantastic barrel aging program. And Avery is no different. Barely not making the top 10. And I kind of think I did it just because I have maybe a couple of their beers in the top 10. It was Firestone Walker's Parabola. Me and my buddy Chuck reviewed this a couple months ago. It's a 2014 Parabola. Barrel aged Imperial Stout. Absolutely fantastic beer. It's kind of splitting teeth between this and one of their other beers. But I decided to put it in the honorable mentions because it was just that good. So yeah, there you go. That's honorable mentions. A lot of the beers I reviewed were absolutely fantastic, besides the ones I have on here, but those are the cream of the crop of the honorable mentions. Down to the actual cream of the crop. Let's see. Number 10, Firestone Walker PNC Imperial Buckwheat Stout aged in tequila barrels. Loved it. Obviously, it's in my top 10 beers I reviewed this year. If you actually watch both reviews, I kind of go back and forth. I say one's as good as the other, but one's better than the other. This one was a 2013 version. I found the actual PNC and the Parabola very close. Very similar. Didn't get a ton of tequila off of the Firestone Walker PNC, but they're very close. And I think that age, that 1 year difference, that made it balance out, made it a little bit more harmonic for me, kind of put it ahead of the other ones. So yeah. Number 10, Firestone Walker's PNC. Number 9, Smutty Nose. Big Beer Series, Baltic Porter. 2013 version. I'm going to tell you what. I grabbed this beer because I had their Wee Heavy. I did a review with me and Joe from NEPA Beer Reviews. Did a beer review of it. And it was really nice, the Wee Heavy. And then I got that really old brown dog ale that was in the honorable mentions. Love that. And then I was like, screw it. I'm like, I got to keep going with these Big Beer Series. And ended up getting the Baltic Porter, and it was just that freaking good. It was absolutely freaking amazing. It was a 2013 version. I think that year and a half kind of just made it perfect just for me, to the point where I think I ended up buying like 6 of them from the same place. And the price point on them was ridiculous too, because they were like 500 milliliter bottles, I believe, and they were like $7, $8 a bottle. It was absolutely ridiculous. So yeah, number 9, Smutty Noses, Big Beer Series Baltic Porter. Number 8, J.W. Lee's 2008 Harvest Ale. Love J.W. Lee's. Love their Harvest Ale line. Everything about it. It ages just as beautiful as North Coast Old Stock and as a Thomas Hardy. So it's a beer that you need to age, and I've had a couple of them this year, and it's probably one of the older, I think it's the oldest old ale I reviewed, and it was absolutely fantastic. One of the earliest reviews I've done, probably in the first top 5 or 10. So if you want to check out some bizarre awkwardness and me just kind of mumbling, not that I don't mumble now, go back, check it out. Absolutely fantastic beer. Let's see. Number 7, Due to Seals, Root de Spices, or Spice Root. Year on this was kind of wonky. It was a very old looking bottle. Due to Seal doesn't really date their bottle, so I think it was a couple years old, but I've had a couple more of them since then, and they're all very similar. Listen, I love Due to Seal. If you watch any of my reviews, especially the Due to Seal reviews, you know I'm a big fan of the brewery. Love Depeche Mortel. Love the Solstice de Ivor, or Ivor, or however you French suckers say it, because I butcher everything. Love all those. The reason why the root de species, or the spice root, again probably butchering it, takes the cake for me is because it's an absolutely beautiful beer. It's a peppercorn rye beer, and the peppercorns build with every sip you get, and just bring this kind of like pepper heat to it, not like a chili heat, like a peppered heat. And each sip, it builds and builds and builds to the point where it's like, I don't want to say intense because it never gets to the point of being uncomfortable, but it's an absolutely beautiful beer. Here's the thing, it's 5% alcohol. It is by far the best probably sub 7% alcohol beer I've ever had in my life. Maybe a sub 10. It's just the fact that it's that beautiful of a beer and that low ABV. I had to put it on the list. It's absolutely fantastic beer. If you owe it to yourself to give it a whirl, if you have a chance. Due to seal, root de species, or space root, whatever you want to call it. Absolutely fantastic. Number 6, the Uinta Crooked Line Labyrinth Imperial Stout, or Black Ale, that's what they call it. It's a Russian Imperial Stout, I believe, brewed with licorice. Not a ton of licorice in it, but it was off the hook good. It was absolutely fantastic. It was a 2012 version. I brought it to a brew day with Ryan from Brew Photo and Joe from NEPA Beer Reviews. We did a bunch of really nice beers that day. We did Thirsty Dogs Wolver. We did, I forget what else, Jack's Abbey Framing Hammer, PB&J. We did a bunch of them. And I bought this literally on my way. I was like, I need to bring something else with me. And I grabbed it. It turned out to be a 2012 version. And we kind of just opened it being like, oh, let's check it out. And it blew us all away. It kind of stole the show for us that day. Absolutely fantastic beer. You can get it with a bit of time on it. I'm sure the time did it well. So if you can get one with a little bit of time on it, please do. Number 5, Struise's Black Albert Russian Imperial Stout. Amazing. Absolutely freaking amazing. That beer is ridiculous. Probably one of the best Russian Imperial Stouts I've ever had. Now I'm barrel aged too, mind you. It reminded me so much of another beer that it was ridiculous. I found 2 of them. Went to the place that I bought the original one, reviewed it, never had it before, reviewed it. Immediately next morning drove and bought the other one. And that's the last time I saw it. I've looked online and the prices are astronomical, so apparently it's a hard to get beer, and I just kind of lucked into it, but absolutely fantastic beer. Worth every penny if you can find it anywhere. Into stouts, Russian Imperial Stouts, barrel-aged stouts, whatever, owe it to yourself to give it a whirl. The beer it came closest to is my number 4, which is Courage Russian Imperial Stout. The original OG Russian Imperial Stout that was brewed back in the day for whoever. For me, it was an absolute pleasure to drink. Just to dip back to the Struise one, no idea what year it was. Probably it was a couple years old. The Courage Russian Imperial is 2012. Absolutely fantastic. Courage Russian Imperial Stout kind of dropped off the map. I think it might have stopped being produced for a while or distributed or whatever, and then got picked back up. And I got a 2012 bottle of it, reviewed it, knocked me off my socks, reminded me what it was like to first start drinking beer, because it was one of the first amazing, great beers I ever had. If you can get it, I highly suggest you grab one because it's absolutely worth every penny. Number 3 is Firestone Walker Sucaba. It's Firestone Walker Sucaba. That's what it is. 2013 English barley wine that is absolutely superb. It's I'm drinking a Goose Island Bourbon County barley wine right now. It's not as big and as dense and as thick as this, but it's just as it's fantasticer. It's just as good. It is. It's so complex and so, I don't want to say dense yet delicate at the same time, but it's just absolutely one of the best beers out there going. Just, I mean, from the fact that, you know, Firestone Walker has 3 beers out of the 20 best ones I've had this year. It just shows you what their barrel age program's all about. Absolutely fantastic. If you can find it, pick some up. Great beer. Number 2, Kane Brewing out of Hasbury Park or Ocean City, New Jersey, or New Jersey Shore in general. Sorry. Kane 3rd Anniversary 1095 Belgian Style Ale. 2014 version. It's their 3rd anniversary, so it's not going to have a different year. Cellar method, Belgian Dark, Belgian Quad, I believe, and Asian bourbon barrels. Absolutely fantastic. One of the better beers I've had in quite some time. The mouthfeel blew me away. The taste is absolutely fantastic, but the mouthfeel just blows me away. Something about it, I can't even put my finger on it, how great it is. Small brewery, they get no distribution. They're self-distributed, I believe, within the state of New Jersey. So, unfortunately, it's not something that you'd be able to pick up, especially if you're not around this area. But if you can pick it up, you owe it to yourself to try to get one through trade or through whatever. Please try to pick some up. And number 1, North Coast Old Stock Cellar Reserve 2011 Brandy Barrel Aged Old Ale. It is, for me, and I know a couple other people that review beers and that I've drank with, the pinnacle of beer, especially maybe not of all time, but what I've had recently. It's absolutely fantastic beer. Perfect marriage between barrel aging and adding the booze to it, because sometimes you get a lot of bourbon or a lot of rum or something like that in a beer and it kind of overpowers it. Well, that brandy barreling, which you don't see a ton of brandy barreling, it just married that brandy barreling in there and just made it an absolutely 100% stellar ale. I mean, it's absolutely fantastic. Can't speak enough about it. I mean, my top 20 is fantastic. My top 10 is stellar. But I'm going to say I have a 1 through 10 here. The 2 through 10 was a really hard decision. Like, it was really like, do I put the Kane 2nd or the Firestone Walker Sucaba 3rd, or does the Russian Courage Russian beat the Struise Black Albert? Is the Uinta Labyrinth really better than the Roots de Species from Dew to Seal? I had a trouble kind of figuring out which one's which and with all those. There was no decision. There was no qualms. There was no nothing about choosing number 1. Number 1 was North Coast Old Stock 2001 Cellar Reserve. It was number 1 when I thought about the list. It was number 1 when I was thinking about the list, and it was number 1 when I finished the list. That good of a beer. I don't want to even talk about it anymore, because it's just, if you need to get some, you need to get some. And there you go. That's my 2014 best beers, or my favorite beers I've reviewed this year. Not the best. Like I said, there's ones I've probably graded better or worse than others. Like, I believe, out of some of these, 1 at 10 might have beat a 7 or something like that, really in the rankings as far as grading. But as far as what I enjoyed, the beers I enjoyed this year, that's my list. What is it? Honorable mentions through 10 through 1. If this helps anybody find any beers, awesome. I don't know. Maybe I just like to talk about lists because I've done them past a couple days in a row, almost 2 days in a row. But yeah, hopefully it brings any kind of information to you guys out there, and I hope they enjoyed me reading off the list, because I certainly enjoyed making them. And in the grand scheme of things, it's kind of weird because I'm super enjoying doing this beer review thing. Kind of thought about it in a kind of whimsical thing. I've been drinking beer for, God knows, 20 years now, and good beer for 20 years now, and always thought about doing it, never kind of did it. And then one day I got a bug up my butt and kind of started doing it, and started talking to different people in the not just beer community, but beer review community. Met super cool people, did reviews with them, hung out with them, found new beers. Ended up, pegging in a community I didn't even know existed. Not that I wasn't within the craft beer community, but finding even more people outside of this area that I would have never met if it wasn't for it. So, really, this list is fantastic. But the fact that I get to watch people do reviews, people watch them, and we converse back and forth, is probably the best part about the whole thing. So, I hope you guys enjoy the reviews. I really do. I try to do my best presenting them, whether it be me not saying as much, or right there, and just randomness, my dog kind of poking their way in there, and my cat Peanut Butter making a making a showing every now and then. I try to do my best in them. Hopefully you guys enjoy them. Hopefully you get some information from him. Hopefully he starts bugging me for food, which he's doing right now. And hopefully you guys keep watching. And if you have any comments, suggestions, or anything like that, whether it's beer we should review or how idiotic I am or anything like that, please leave in the comment section below. And here's to a beautiful new year, 2015, full of awesome beer. And yeah, awesome. Cheers.